activating the body's defense system. Its way of protecting itself from that high energy. Who remembers the super high-tech way that the body has of protecting itself from all that energy? Our fat butts. And that's what body fat is. Body fat is the body's way of protecting itself from all that energy that's coming in. And the worst part of it is because we're not getting function out of all that energy. The body thinks it needs more energy. So it keeps us going out and getting more energy. And the body says, well, sticks that in our butts and in our guts and in our body. That says, that wasn't it. Let's get some more energy. And it keeps taking more, and it keeps taking more, which is why as soon as you get on micronutrients, you stop eating as much. You follow me? Once you get enough of the micronutrients, you can utilize the energy more effectively. You don't need as much energy. And you lose weight without even trying. This is why people lose weight when they get on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. As soon as you get on the BTT, you start eating, you notice that you're not as hungry because now your body can leverage all that energy it's been getting from the protein and fats and carbohydrates and utilize it to make bone and collagen and help your liver work and your heart pump, etc. Now we're here to talk about the ketogenic diet. I have not forgotten about that. How does the ketogenic diet fit into this whole idea of protein, of macronutrients versus micronutrients? The ketogenic diet is the ultimate and the cleanest and the most efficient way to turn your macronutrients into energy. It allows the body to leverage the fire that's in the log more effectively than any other diet known to man. The ketogenic diet allows the body to exploit or to extract the energy that is in the biochemical logs called protein and fats and carbohydrates more efficiently and more effectively than any other diet. Should I say that again? Does that make sense? It allows us to take the fire from the logs in an efficient fashion. No other diet is more efficient. It's like kind of like the body can extract energy from protein and from fats and from carbs. They're all logs. But the logs that we call fat are packed with energy. More energy than is in the logs we call sugar, and more energy than is the logs we call protein. It allows us to get more bang for our buck. The ketogenic diet is technically a high-fat, low-carb diet. Both of those words are important. A high-fat has to be in a context of low-carb. I'll tell you how high and how low here in a second. Ketogenic diet is a high-fat, low-carb diet. It must occur within a context of low sugar. It also must occur within a context of low calories. So in addition to being high-fat, low-carb, it has to be low-calorie. Calories represent energy and heat, and the body doesn't like heat. The body likes to run cool, like your computer likes to run cool. So to leverage the power of the ketogenic diet, you have to keep your carbs down. I'll tell you how down in a second. You have to keep your calories low. I'll tell you how low in a second. But the good news is you get to have a lot of fat. And you should have a lot of fat, because the ketogenic diet is not only the most efficient and effective way to get energy from the logs, from the protein, fat, carbs, but it is the way we evolved to eat. It's the way our bodies want to get nutrition. The ketogenic diet is a biochemically friendly diet. We are suffering from a lot of things. There's 12,800 different diseases in this country. There's all kinds of ways the bodies can break down, and many of them are too horrific to even think about. But behind it, all of it, you will find a violation of natural law. We are paying the price when we're sick. We are paying the price of violating a natural law, the natural law, which is how we are to live our lives. There's a way we are supposed to live. All animals have ways they're supposed to live. All living things have ways they're supposed to live. And we have created a culture that throughout history has gotten better and better at figuring out how to violate natural law. And every day it becomes more and more progressive. It started 10,000 years ago with agriculture. Agriculture, and I hate to say it, there's any farmers in this room, but agriculture, the growing of crops and grains and easy, quick calories was the beginning from a historical perspective of us violating natural law. Human beings are not supposed to be eating processed grains. They're not supposed to be eating grains. Did you know this? Grains don't want to be eaten. Grains are nature's seeds. Grains are seeds. And we live in a culture where everybody knows you're supposed to eat whole grains. You're supposed to eat 7 servings of grains. Well, that's a classic violation of nature's law. You see, nature doesn't want you, the natural world, God, the divine force, nature, whatever you want to call it, doesn't want you eating its seeds because its seeds are supposed to grow. So what has happened is the seeds have evolved poisons, have evolved toxins that will punish the animal that is dumb enough to eat them. Okay? We call those toxins anti-nutrients. And their job is literally to keep animals from eating the seeds. Well, grains are seeds. And so grains are loaded with anti-nutrients. Some of the anti-nutrients in grains are like heroin, natural heroin. Plants make their seeds and grains, and grain seeds in particular, make something called exorphins, which are grain opiates, grain heroin. That's why they call grains comfort foods. Grains are comfort foods because they make a natural opiate. Grains also make a very sticky substance that will poison or toxify the digestive tract, particularly the intestine of any animal that eats the grains. We call that class of toxins that interferes with intestinal health, among other things, gluten. That's what gluten is. Gluten is a plant's way of making sure the animal isn't dumb enough to eat the plant or eat the seed. Seeds are so smart, the divine force is so smart, that it will actually make birth control for the next generation. So the rabbit eats the carrot, and the rabbit's fine, but it can't have babies because it ate the birth control that's in the carrot. We call those phytoestrogens. Anybody hear that term, phytoestrogens? Plants are loaded with phytoestrogens. Not for us. You know, the carrots doesn't care about your menopause. The carrot cares that the animal doesn't make more babies to eat more carrots. How smart is that? So grains don't want to be eaten. Yet we have a culture where we subsist on them. Everything has grains. One of the most problematic compounds in grains is quick energy compounds called sugar. And the reason we like our grains so much, our pasta and our rice and our potatoes, well, they're not grains, but our pasta and our rice and our cereals and our breads, not to mention our starched vegetables like potatoes, not to mention our fruits, and our sweet vegetables like carrots and beets. The reason we like all of that is because they're quick energy to the body. They give you quick energy, especially for the brain. And throughout history, there wasn't a lot of sugar around, so we evolved to love sugar. And when they figured out they could crush up the grains and add a little bit of water to it, it would taste sweet. You may not know it tastes sweet, but if you let it sit in your mouth a little bit, it will taste sweet, and you could get the same high that you get from sugar. Human beings went crazy. As soon as they figured out they could chop up the grains, they could crush up the grains, and they could release the sugar, and you would get quick energy, and you would have this pleasurable sensation from sugar. And by the way, when you eat sugar, your brain secretes a hormone called dopamine, which makes you think like that you just won the lottery. So from a biochemical perspective, you eat your bread or your cereal or your potatoes or whatever it is that's sugar, and your brain says, yippee, we just won the lottery. So of course nobody's going to get off the sugar, because we're wired to feel pleasure and to feel rewards when we have the sugar. And as soon as they mashed up the grains, some Neolithic hunter-gatherers crushed up the grains and put a little water in there, and he tasted it. They go, bingo, we just won the lottery. They didn't have the lottery, but they went crazy. And that's when modern history began. And it was not that long after that happened that all of a sudden, and nobody knows how this happened, Clyde can attest to this, there was an empire that appeared out of nowhere. What was that empire that appeared out of nowhere about 8,000 years ago or 9,000 years ago? It was called the Sumerian Empire. And the Sumerian Empire was the first of the empires of grain. And from that point forward, all the great empires throughout history, whether it's the Chinese Empire, the Indian Empire, the Persian Empire, the Egyptian Empire, or the American Empire, were all empires of grain. Grain made countries wealthy. And because, by the way, this is as an aside, I hope you don't mind my little digressions here, but as an aside, because grains had to be farmed, and farming is hard work, and irrigation was required, and digging ditches was required, they had to invent slaves. And that's us. And people who are working for a living are really working as slaves did in the Sumerian Empire to help support the empire of grain. So our addiction to grain costs us on multiple levels, and it especially costs us from a biochemical health perspective, and it doesn't because our biochemistry is wired to love sugar. But in the same way if the body can derive energy from sugar, it can derive it from protein and fat because they're all logs. The sugar's a log, the protein is a log, and the fat is a log. And the most powerful log of all, the most energy dense of all our logs, are the fats. And not only is the energy that is derived from fats powerful and dense, it's clean. So if you take, you can do this tomorrow at home or when you get home, take a saucepan, put a little sugar in it, and then get one of those barbecue lighters and flame the sugar, and you'll see the sugar will flame a little bit, and then it will leave this crusty stuff behind. Then do the same thing with some oil or some butter, and not butter, because butter's got particulates in it, but get a clean oil of some kind, and do the same thing, and you'll see that the flame will be brighter, and nothing will be left behind. Sugar burns dirty. It burns quick, but it burns dirty. And the molecular correlate, the molecular analog of dirt, occurs in the body. When we eat sugar, we get biochemical dirt. And that same crusty, can you picture the crusty that's from burnt sugar? Sometimes you can do it on creme brulee or something like that when you're baking. That same crusty that's occurring in the saucepan is occurring in the blood vessels in your eyes. It's occurring in the blood vessels in your feet, and any diabetic will tell you that diabetes is the leading cause of blindness and amputations. That same crusty will occur in the blood vessels in the kidneys, and diabetes is a major cause of kidney disease. That same crusty is so toxic to the body that the body has had to figure out a way to protect itself, and that's what body fat is. Body fat is a way the body protects itself from all that crusty that comes from burning sugar. Which is why if you can figure out a way to get energy without having to go into sugar, you are going to change every single health marker there is, whether it's blood fats, or whether it's heart disease, or whether it's thyroid health, or whether it's brain health, or whether it's liver disease or kidney disease. Every single disease that we suffer from in the way of chronic degenerative diseases will be improved, will be ultimately changed, fixed, by changing the way our body processes sugar. It is the number one, it's actually the number two thing that you need to do, but alongside of working on digestive health, and I wish I had time to talk about that, but I don't, but just know that with digestive health and blood sugar health, you control every disease there is. I don't care if it's multiple sclerosis or cancer, or acne or arthritis. Whatever it is, control your blood sugar and work on your digestive system. The ketogenic diet allows you to get energy without screwing up your sugar. Put it simply, which means that every single disease, because it's all related to sugar and insulin, blood sugar and insulin, every health issue will improve once you go ketogenic. This is a panacea that is so incredibly important and so unbelievably effective that everybody needs to know about it. Everybody. Tell your friends, tell everybody. God forbid you have somebody you know with Alzheimer's disease. I was saying in the last lecture, my dad has Alzheimer's disease. And I don't know how many of you guys have seen it, but it's the worst because the person is like dead and they're not. They're right in front of you and they're gone. And you know if you've seen it, it's like you don't have closure, and it is so tragically unnecessary because once you tell the body how to handle the sugar, symptoms, I believe it can be cured eventually. The question is you don't have a bunch of time, but whether you cure it or not is irrelevant. Your patient will feel better. You'll get your patient back, and it won't take very long. The ketogenic diet is so powerful for brain health and so important for brain health that it actually was invented in the 1920s as a diet for controlling seizures. And to this day, the ketogenic diet is the medical protocol, the doctor-approved protocol for treating seizures that are what are said to be refractory to anticonvulsants. That is, by refractory, anticonvulsants don't work. So if you go to the doctor with seizure disorders and your Tegretol and your Dilantin and your Gabapentin or whatever it is you're taking doesn't work, your doctor, no fan of alternative medicine, your doctor will put you on the ketogenic diet. It is tried and true for helping the body deal with seizure disorders. In the same way it helps the body deal with seizure disorders, it helps the body deal with Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease because it calms the brain down. It allows the body to extract energy from fat, which is cleaner and more efficient, and not have to deal with sugar. So if you know anybody who has Parkinson's or movement disorders or Alzheimer's or seizures, the ketogenic diet is a doctor-approved, not that that's necessarily, but that's how powerful it is and how validated it is for dealing with brain health issues. The ketogenic diet is the ultimate anti-cancer diet because cancer loves sugar. In fact, if you know somebody who has cancer, and you know there's no good diseases, and Alzheimer's disease is horrible, but cancer is like the most horrific diagnosis anybody could ever have. And cancer is the classic sign that the body has been in such grave distress for so long it doesn't know what else to do. Cancer is not cancer. Lung cancer is not lung cancer. Kidney cancer or liver cancer or brain cancer or blood cancer, they're not cancer. They are lung cell cancer. They are liver cell cancer. They are kidney cell cancer. And why is that important? Why is that an important distinction? It's important because you see, once it's a kidney, we have no control over it, but we have control at the cell level. The cell only needs three things. Only three things. It needs food, it needs oxygen, it needs a clean place to do its work. That's all the cell needs. The organ, by the time it's in the kidney, there's nothing you could do, which is why all a doctor can do is kill the kidney, or radiate the kidney, or extract the kidney, or poison the kidney. See, doctors aren't welcome at the level of a cell. Doctors are not allowed in the cell. The cell is, get these Satan behind me. The cell, they're not going to accept medicine unless the cell is poisoned, or it's extracted, or it's killed. But it doesn't matter because we have control, because a cell only needs nutrition and oxygen, and it needs to be clean. And why nutrition, why oxygen, and why clean? Because all of those represent energy. And a cancer is a cell that has not gotten energy. It has been malnourished for so long, it has been suffocated for so long, and it has been toxified for so long that it has been robbed of energy. It now has to divide very rapidly in order to do its business. That's what cancer is. Cancer is a cell that is so freaked out because it has been suffocated and starved and toxified for so long, it has been robbed of energy for so long that now it is dividing and utilizing energy the only way it knows how, which, if you're interested, is like a bacteria. A cancer cell is like a bacterial cell. It's a primitive cell. It doesn't have a nucleus, doesn't have any compartments or parts. It's just a mess. And it can't do its work, and it's dividing so rapidly it can't function properly. And that's all a cancer cell is. And why is that important? Because we have control over it. And so if anybody has cancer, the first thing you want to do is help the cells get energy. And the fastest way to help your cells get energy is to give them fat. Because fat is nature's densest form of energy. So the ketogenic diet is the ultimate anti-cancer diet. How many more benefits do you want? Because there's a lot more. Because the ketogenic diet, and this is probably why many of you are here today, because the ketogenic diet allows you to extract energy more efficiently without having to utilize sugar. The ketogenic diet doesn't cause your blood sugar to go up and doesn't cause your body to stash all that sugar in your gut or in your butt, so you lose body fat on the ketogenic diet. The ketogenic diet is not only the best cancer diet, the best brain health diet, it's also the best weight loss diet. The ketogenic diet will allow your body to calm down. So it's the best go to sleep diet. Because everything involves a hyperactive body, all diseases involve some kind of hyperactivity. The ketogenic diet is the best relaxation diet. The ketogenic diet is the best diet for every single marker of health that you can name. Do you think that's important? You better believe it's important. If you have diabetes, ketogenic diet. If you have seizure disorders, Alzheimer's disease, movement disorders, Parkinson's disease, ketogenic diet. If you have kidney disease, ketogenic diet. If you have anxiety or ADHD, ketogenic diet. If you have PCOS, ketogenic diet. If you have acne, ketogenic diet. For women dealing with hot flashes and menopause, ketogenic diet. All the symptoms of menopause. Infertility, ketogenic diet. What more do you want from a diet? My friend Amanda, I don't know if she's here, do you guys ever have you seen my video on the ketogenic diet? Google YouTube, Pharmacist Ben ketogenic diet. She said to me, what's the ketogenic diet good for? Who's it good for? What kind of people should use it? Everybody! You don't need to have weight problems or seizure disorders or heart disease or dysglycemia, messed up blood sugar or kidney disease. Everybody benefits from the ketogenic diet. So, we've got 10 minutes. I want to tell you how you use the ketogenic diet. How to do it. Are you sold?
Yep.
Are you bought? Did I close the deal? Okay, now all I'm going to do is tell you. There's a couple things I want to tell you first. I want to introduce to you my friend Clyde, who I love it when I talk, because I just talk, I give you theories, but I love it when I talk and then people come up and they say, look, I did this thing, I know it works. And Clyde, who has a radio show on hundreds of stations, by the way, around the country, and I'll let you give it a plug. He's going to tell you a quick story. Do it quick, because I got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about, but I want you to tell your story.
All right, I want to do it quickly. First of all, it's a psychological thing. You have to be prepared to go on the diet. You have to be prepared to say to yourself, I want to be able to get up in the morning and not feel out of breath. I want to be able to walk. I don't want to have to do a countdown before I raise my leg and get in the car. These are the things I had to go over. I had cancer 3 times, 3 bouts of renal cell carcinoma, both kidneys, 5 tumors, each one getting cut up by the doctors. I then, in my recovery, became sedentary. I ballooned to 490 pounds, almost 500 pounds. Okay. And what happened was that I was eating wrong, I was breathing wrong, I was doing it all wrong. It wound up having me in bed a lot, not moving very well, and bingo, 5 embolisms went into my lung, nearly killed me. The chances of you surviving with 1 embolism going into your lung is 20%. 5 of them, 4%, sometimes even less than that. I survived. That is a wake-up call. I decided I needed to go on a diet that would work. Leans and greens, ladies and gentlemen. Leans and greens. The only greens you don't eat? Peas. Legumes. Why? Because they're full of sugar. Yellow corn. GMO for one thing, sugar another thing. They'll feed you corn, they'll feed you all that. Same with the wheat and the grains. Grains kill you. And you know, if you look around at the diet that we eat in America, you go to a restaurant, you sit down, you tell them no hash browns and no toast with your eggs. You know what they tell you? Why not? Well, because it doesn't work, okay? And we need to cut back in this country on feeding people breakfasts that consist of waffles and pancakes and having it all forced onto you. We need to be able to eat things at lunch like salads and they have to be green though. You can't have carrots. You know, you gotta psych yourself up for it. It works.
I want to add one thing. Thank you very much, Clyde. I want to add one thing to what he said. The most important meal to skip? Breakfast. Yes. Skip your breakfast. And I wish I had time to tell you about Edward Bernays and the breakfast scam. But here's the deal. The ketogenic diet depends on low calories. If you stop eating at 4 in the afternoon and don't start eating until 12 the next day, you are in ketosis. Between that time, losing weight and fighting diabetes and Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease and all the other benefits of the ketogenic diet in that time between 4 in the afternoon and 11 the next day. Breakfast is a scam. Like grains are a scam, by the way. Thank you very much, Clyde. You need to plug your radio show.
Oh, sorry. It's called Ground Zero.
Ground Zero. It's on 200 stations. Superstar. Okay, thank you very much, Clyde. And I know there's probably other of you guys who've had stories. And by the way, if you have stories, I encourage you to go on my radio show and tell people, because it's great when I talk about this in theory, but it's even better when there's real people who have real stories. So please, if you have stories like this, please contact me. And by the way, ben@kfco.com, because I know you guys will have questions, we might not have time. How do you employ the ketogenic diet? Well, there's a couple things to know. First of all, what you're doing with the ketogenic diet is you're shifting over from being a sugar burner to a fat burner. Our bodies want to be fat burners, but because there's so much sugar present, we don't get to do that. We have so much abundant sugar, the body doesn't need to go into fat burning, it's consistently burning the sugar. And the fat just stays there. And because the body doesn't like lots of sugar, even more fat goes there. So it takes a few weeks actually, to go from being a complete sugar burner to an efficient fat burner. And the period in between, you're not going to feel so good. You're going to get something called the keto flu. The keto flu is when your body is not really getting enough energy from fat, but because you're so low carb, it doesn't really get it from carbs. And because the protein, it still can get sugar from protein and energy from protein, but it's still not that efficient at it. We usually don't get enough protein. We want to go through the keto flu, and by 2 or 3 weeks, you're starting to adjust. The ketogenic diet is roughly around 10 to 15% of your calories coming from carbs, 70 to 80, even up to 90% of your calories coming from fat. If you were going to a seizure clinic and you had the medical ketogenic diet, they would tell you 90% of your calories coming from fat, and then 20 to 25% protein. The biggest mistake people make with the ketogenic diet, 2 biggest mistakes really, is they eat too much carbs and they eat too much protein. And this is the distinction between the paleo diet and the ketogenic diet. Do you guys remember Atkins' diet, the whole Atkins thing? Atkins was the first guy to really make this public. The history of the ketogenic diet was, as I said, It started when they started to explore brain health and what was going on with fasting, and then in the 1920s it kind of got big, and then Dilantin and Tegretol and drugs came out, so it kind of got put in the wayside. And then around 1970 or the early 70s, Dr. Atkins was saying, hey, wait a minute, it's the sugar, it's the carbs, and they made him into, they laughed at him, because back then everybody knew it was the fat. Even today everybody knows it's the fat. He said, no, eat fat, eat lots of fat. Now, Dr. Atkins, you know, he was a clinical guy, he wasn't a biochemist, so he was on the right track, but he wasn't 100% because he said, eat lots of protein. Now, this is good if you're exercising and working out, or if you're recovering from surgery, or you're utilizing the protein, but if you're not turning that protein into muscle, that protein will get turned into fat. First into sugar, and then into fat. And this is why, although the Atkins diet worked for a lot of people, it didn't work for everybody. Because he wasn't quite spot on. He was doing a modified version of the ketogenic diet. So when you're doing the ketogenic diet, it must occur in a context of low carb and moderate protein. And the protein you're doing should be ketogenic protein. See, protein can get turned into sugar, but it can also get turned into ketones. And you want to eat protein that makes you ketogenic. Things like beef and eggs and high protein foods in general. In fact, the best ketogenic foods are going to be high protein foods like beef and eggs. Remember though, when I say high protein, low calorie. High concentration of protein, but you still got to keep your calories down. Ketogenic proteins like organ meats, especially organ meats because they're fatty. Also avocados and olives, fatty fish, dairy. These are all the best ketogenic foods. Another very powerful ketogenic food is bacteria in fermented foods. Bacteria produce compounds that are ketogenic. So making sure you're using your nightly essence. Make sure you're using fermented vegetables. In fact, vegetables and fiber together, or fermented vegetables and fiber, are extra ketogenic. Fiber is ketogenic, one of the best all-time great ketogenic foods, and I didn't tell you this, I forgot to mention, the ketogenic diet acts like an appetite suppressant. When you make ketones, it shuts down your body's appetite. One of the all-time great appetite suppressant foods is fiber. And fiber is not only appetite suppressant because it fills you up, it's appetite suppressant because bacteria that live in the gut munch down on that fiber and make ketogenic compounds. So not only do you want vegetables, but you want fermented vegetables. And not only do you want fermented vegetables, but you want to make your own fiber. One of the best ketogenic foods is flax fiber. Get a coffee grinder, get yourself some organic flax seeds, golden rather than brown. Put the golden flax seeds in the coffee grinder, press the little button. It makes the most delicious fiber. Not only is it ketogenic, but it will also fill you up. Not only will it fill you up as a ketogenic, but it's a great source of vitamin E and vitamin A and amino acids. In fact, the flaxseed fiber is not just an appetite suppressant and a source of good fats and a source of essential fatty acids, and an appetite suppressant will fill you up. It's also 30% protein. So you get a big chunk of protein with just a spoon of flax fiber. You can put it in smoothies, yogurt, and salad. You can eat it straight. I love it in coconut milk or almond milk. You stir it up, mix it with a little nutritional yeast, and you'll get your micronutrients. It'll help your body extract the energy from the macronutrients. You guys, there's so much more. I haven't even scratched the surface of this thing. But what I want you to go home with is not so much all the individual facts. There are probably some great little factoids and great little tips that you could use here. But what I want you to go home with was the idea that we have control over our bodies. That it's not like things get rained on your head. There's a magical pixie dust, fibromyalgia pixie dust that somebody sprinkled on your head. There is some kind of cause to every effect. There is some kind of action to every reaction. Why is that good news? Why is that liberating? Because we're doing the actions. So if that reaction is occurring that you don't want, change the action. I'm not a genius or anything, that's just common sense. Every single disease we have has some kind of cause, if you backtrack it far enough, has some kind of cause that we have control over. By diseases, I'm talking about long-term, chronic, degenerative diseases. You know, I talked a lot, and I have my friend Rich here, who I really wanted to invite up to show you. Rich has a brilliant strategy for using small moves and getting big results. What I talked about here today takes advantage of what I think is the world's greatest invention. If you ask people what the world's greatest invention is, some people will say the wheel. Most people will say the wheel, right? I don't think it's the wheel. I think it's the lever. Because the lever allows you to move big things with little moves. That's what leverage is. It allows you to do a little move and get big results. And everything we've talked about here today is really little moves. Eat less food, eat more fat, get on your Keto FX, use your Healthy Start Pack. There's a million of them. I didn't tell you about gratitude, and I didn't tell you about loving yourself. We didn't talk about oxygenation, and we didn't talk about feeling our spiritual nature, feeling our connection to God. We didn't talk about any of that stuff, but these are all little moves that we can use to maximize and optimize our lives and health. Rich has got some great ideas for the body, for exercise, and we have to get out of here. My friend Denise is here, and my beautiful friend Tom Chenault. I love you, Tom Chenault, right there in the back. I don't know if you guys know that guy right there, Tom Chenault. They got to do a talk. Rich will be standing outside here to show you some really easy tips to leverage exercise. I love you guys. Thank you very much. Praise God. Have a beautiful rest of the summer, and we'll talk to you later.
Well, there you go. That was Ben Fuch, Pharmacist Ben, brightsideben.com. This is Jamel Bookaboo, and this is my beautiful wife, Melina. And you go to teamg'day.com, call me on 808-436-5025 in the US of A. In Australia, you can call 0414-286-358, coming at you from Utah.